Keith Wakeman, CEO and founder of SuperBetter. Welcome to our incredible conversation that I know we're going to have. Really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
So, we are all about people-centric companies, and we really love to focus in on how companies take care of people in doing business. But one of our favorite types of companies to talk to and talk about are companies that really were created to actually help people and found a business model in doing so. And Super Better is an incredible example of that. This is a company that's dedicated to helping individuals build resilience and improve mental well-being through basically a game or a series of games, correct?
Correct. That's right. That's right.
So it's an incredible idea. Obviously, gaming is huge nowadays, and everybody wants to play games. Wouldn't it be great if those games can actually help us as opposed to hurting our mental health, which we hear so much about how games can hurt our mental health. Tell us just a little bit, a little snippet of how and why your games help people.
Yeah. So, and thank you for that introduction. And SuperBetter was and is created as a purpose-led company to empower people around the world, and that's really our mission: is to unlock heroic potential of people everywhere, especially youth and young adults everywhere. What SuperBetter is we call it a mindset intervention. So it's the SuperBetter mindset. It's an easy to teach, easy to learn mental framework. It uses the psychology of gameplay to help individuals overcome obstacles and achieve goals in all of their lives. So it feels kind of like playing life like a game. So it's not a video game that immerses people and takes them away from the world, but instead, there are 3 billion people around the world who regularly play video games. So almost 40% of the world's population. And every time they play, without them even have to think about it, their brains are shifting, and regions of their brains are lighting up that are different and empowering compared to when they're passively learning or doing other activities. And so we harness kind of the strengths that individuals naturally use when they play games in everyday life, and it is a way to build resilience, improve mental health, improve self-efficacy, and support recovery as well.
Wow, and you talk about recovery, and that brings up the incredible origin story, right? That this just didn't come out of theory. Jane McGonigal, who was a famous game designer, actually kind of did the research and created this idea because of a severe concussion that she had, I guess, back in 2009. And rather than just sit there languishing, she came up with this game, correct?
That's right. That's right. So yeah, so Jane, of all the people in the world to have a serious concussion and kind of go what she did and be able to figure out a game framework to recover, she was uniquely positioned. So Jane's brilliant. She has a PhD in basically game science, game research, from Berkeley. So about 10 years later, she had this concussion, and Jane has an equally brilliant twin sister, Kelly, who's a psychologist at Stanford, right? So
Oh,
there's just
wow.
she was in this world, and very connected to the field of positive psychology, and Dr. Seligman, who's known as the father of positive psychology as well. So Jane was in her home one day. She hit her head on a kitchen cabinet door, got a serious concussion. The concussion didn't heal properly, even though she was under medical care. Over time, she was experiencing anxiety, depression,
Hmm.
suicidal ideation. So Jane's damaged brain was saying, Jane, you have no reason to live. And she did. She finally got to the point that she said, I'm going to either create a game and help my brain heal, or I'm going to kill myself. And fortunately for the world, she decided to and had the capability to create the initial framework that's now Super Better.
Wow, wow, wow. I mean, when you talk about the feelings, the very devastating, terrifying feelings that she was feeling, uh, that those are the kind of things that seem to be coming up more and more in everyday experiences now, right? I mean, we used to think of those ideas of, being suicidal and depression and extreme anxiety. Those used to be things we rarely talked about 20 or 30 years ago, right? But
Mm.
now it seems that they're in the common lexicon as being, it's something that a lot of people are experiencing. So, well, I mean, what a powerful time and tool to have this available, to help people. How is it doing? Are you getting it out there? Are you getting response from people? How is the company and the product doing?
Yeah, yeah. So all good, all good. So we've built this super better in the mindset framework, right? We've really have taken an innovation company model to it. And so a lot of our focus has been on demonstrating how powerful this mindset can be. And I'll talk a little bit about science. So we have a lot of published randomized control and clinical trials that I want to spend a few minutes on. But also we've been doing a lot of just use cases where we work with customers and show how this mindset framework can be brought to life in different kinds of settings as well. This on the research side, the foundational piece. So the beauty of actually, let me share just a little bit, one more kind of frame of reference, comparison for the SuperBetter mindset. So
Please.
coming out of the pandemic, your point, Chris, around the we're all feeling these pressures, but especially youth and young adults. We're in a mental health crisis. It's a global
Yep.
mental health crisis. The prevalence of poor, anxiety, depression, low resilience, stressors, all of that among college age or younger students is population wide. So it's not a few students. It's a large portion of every classroom is having individuals with these struggles. So as we came out of the pandemic, um, so the interesting thing is the youth and young adult mental health crisis started in 2012, long before the pandemic, but the pandemic
Mm.
shined a light on it, and it became pretty clear that educators and others that the prevalence of these conditions and poor mental health was increasingly a business model problem. And when there's a business model problem, organizations invest in it versus when it's a human problem, it's like someone else's problem. It's
Uh-huh.
as well. So we saw the opportunity to take what we had, and people of all ages use SuperBetter, but we started to message and market and create some product solutions that work really well for educators. SuperBetter started as a self-help app. And the world of self-help apps is not the way to solve the world's problems because the industry wide, if somebody just downloads a self-help well-being app or a mental health app, and it doesn't matter if it's SuperBetter or Calm or Headspace, retention is just really low. Our brains aren't wired unless there's a
Hmm.
severe pain we're dealing with every day that drives us to use that. So, standalone apps aren't the big idea from an impact or a business model standpoint, but solving problems for the education system or the workplace or cybersecurity or the sports industry, right? Those solving problems for large industries and players is where it does two things. It creates a context to share something like the Soup Better mindset, and it also creates the potential for significant revenue. So as we shifted this language or the kind of the framing of Super Better, we're not a self-help app, we're not a gamified this or that. Um, Even though people may call us that, and it's fine if they do, but by being the Subetter mindset, we can draw the easy comparison to the growth mindset. So educators have been teaching the growth mindset for almost 20 years. And so now they can also teach the super better mindset. The utilities of the growth mindset and super better mindset are different. They're very complementary. The growth mindset is a more belief system, right? That we can grow and develop, and we're not fixed in our state of life. Subed is more of a structure, a scaffolding, if you will, that has 7 rules to kind of play life like a game, and it has more benefits around mental health and resilience and self-efficacy and kind of positive areas of success. So different, but it makes it really easy to understand for educators or practitioners because we know how to teach this growth mindset. Now we can teach this super better mindset, and the super better mindset is just really simple. It's 7 rules. It feels like playing life like a game. And so that's the kind of the framework. I'll talk a little bit about the research. So again, SuperBetter doesn't have to be delivered as an app. It can be as a curriculum. It can be a framework for mentoring. Again, because it's a mindset, it's a structure that helps people look at the world in a different way, or helps teachers or mentees, mentors, coach and use a framework. So it's a simple framework, but also a very powerful framework. So there's 7 rules to SuperBetter. It's things like going for an epic win, recruiting allies, completing quests were like steps forward, battling bad guys, which are obstacles that block your progress.
Mhm.
Underneath each of those 7 rules are techniques from cognitive behavioral therapy, positive psychology, and health behavior change. So
Oh,
it feels
wow.
really simple, but it's really powerful. In the world, SuperBetter can be delivered digitally. So in the world of mental health related apps, uh, only about 2% of credible apps in our space have any original published research that show they work, and most that do have one study. SuperBetter is on the other extreme. We have 5 published randomized controlled and clinical trials, and they
Wow.
of institutions like Harvard and University of Pennsylvania and Ohio State University, and they show these outcomes around mental health and resilience and self-efficacy. And so it's just this really powerful tool. I'll share two kind of a headline on two of the studies. So a randomized control trial at University of Pennsylvania among young adults with moderate or greater depression. They used the SuperBetter mindset for 4 weeks. The researchers did follow-ups at 2 weeks later at 6 weeks. And within 6 weeks, symptoms of anxiety were reduced by 61% and depression by 49%. So
Holy
really,
cow.
really quick. Our brains are malleable, right? We start to give it the right structure and framework, right? And so really powerful. Our most recent study came out of Harvard and some other institutions. It was among college students with moderate or greater anxiety and or depression. They used the SuperBetter mindset for 10 weeks. The researchers did follow-ups at 3 months and 6 months. And at 6 months, there was a 42% remission rate. So 42% of those students that used in the SuperBetter part of the randomized control trial no longer had anxiety or depression. 42% at 6 months, whether this was prescription drug therapy or digital, a 42% outcome, remission rate at 6 months is a really, really solid number. So this framework is real, again, it's deceptively simple, but also just very, very powerful as well.
Oh my God. So, I mean, obviously it's rooted in real research,
Hmm.
and the results are extraordinary. You're already getting real results. You're not just guessing that this is going to work. That's incredibly powerful. So, is this something that has to be used through a practitioner or a teacher, or can individuals use this on their own as well?
So, I mean, so we have an app that's available to the market. To be honest, we put zero emphasis on it because retention, if it's just, I find it on the
Right.
App Store and download it. People don't, even if somebody recommends it, if a therapist recommends it, unless they're following up. So the big insight that we've found uh, is that when we bring this mindset into a group setting, a classroom, a mentoring program, a place, and kind of the key is a leader or instructor or mentor, a
Hmm.
shared purpose, and then
Okay.
at least occasionally, at least once a week, time that there's discussion around, hey, what bad guy did you battle? Tell me how that went. What is our epic win? So bringing the language to life, that's the key for success. And so we've been doing a lot of I call them experiments, but they're customer relationships, and but they allow us to demonstrate how the mindset can be brought together in different settings. So Indiana University is one of our partners. They've drunk the Kool-Aid. They love SuperBetter and what it is. So we've done a bunch of experiments, and some of to them it's like not just experiments; they're ongoing. So, but the first thing they did, uh, so we created uh, a a web-based dashboard for instructors. We call it a host account. So they can go in, they can add their students as players, form squads, and then host challenges for those squads. The squad challenges have an epic win in 5 days of activities. They bring the framework to life uh, around a particular goal or an epic win. The students complete the activities on their app about 10 minutes a day. For each of the 5 days. We brought that into a first year experience course. So it's a required course for all first year students in Luddy School of Informatics. So about 500 students at Indiana University across 10 sections of the course. And what they and they it was an existing course, so this was like an overlay to an existing student success or first year course. And so the class met once a week. They would spend 10 or 15 minutes talking, using the language. Maybe they complete some activities, that day's challenge together. At the end of the week, they wrote a reflection about one of the bad guys that they battled. And within that framework, kind of two big insights, two big learnings. One is in the sections where the instructors really got behind using the language. And again, it was 10 or 15 minutes once, one day a week. It wasn't excessive, but even just that little bit, the average weekly participation of students in those classes across each of the 16 weeks was over 80%. So
Okay.
again, participation
Yeah.
grade up. The other big learning is, it helped us articulate a third benefit of using the SuperBetter mindset that we weren't able to articulate before. So we know that it's a mindset, it's a framework that's empowering, it builds resilience, it helps achieve goals or overcome obstacles. We know that the epic win, the goal, can be almost anything. So it's a very versatile system. It can be used to overcome an obstacle. Maybe it's anxiety or depression, or I just failed a class and what do I do? Or it can be positive. I want to get that internship, or have a better relationship, or right. So it can be goal oriented. But what they taught us was when the language came to life in the classroom, in their language, their quote would be, we didn't just create a classroom experience, we fostered a culture of resilience and thriving.
Mm,
And so just to unpack that with another sentence or two, but you think about first year students at any university, first time away from home, they're excited, but they're also anxious, they're
hmm.
overwhelmed, all these responsibilities, they don't have their friend group kind of solidified, right? They're not on solid footing there. And so it's a really
Sure.
vulnerable time. And they just found by using this framework and talking about epic wins and bad guys and power ups and quests, that framework, again, they called it resilience and thriving. I would kind of say it's a safe and supportive and aspirational framework. And we know language shifts to culture, or language can support culture. So this idea that we also, by using this framework in the real world, reinforced by the app, but the real magic happens in the real world. We're fostering this safe culture, and we think about the mental health crisis, but we're also in a loneliness crisis, and we're more
Hmm.
connected through technology, but feeling less, more distance. And so you think about the power of the reducing social risk to open up, more in-depth, more vulnerable real life communication, right? And that has a whole nother set of benefits around social connection and social cohesion, and reducing loneliness and some of those aspects as well.
Yeah. So, obviously it's something that the practice of it can be done alone, but the introduction, the follow-up is what really makes powerful and makes it work. So, I mean, this is extraordinary on so many levels and so needed.
Okay.
As an entrepreneur, what what grabbed you about this and said, okay,
Mm.
I want to start this company. I think this is obviously it's something that can help people, and I'm sure that was a big part of it. But
Mm.
what made you say, hey, this is a good business idea. This can work.
Yeah. So I in my early career and in most of my career, I've been an innovator. So in my LinkedIn profile, purpose-driven leader, innovator, brand builder. So I grew up in the U.S. food business with a brand management background. Love growing brand portfolios and kind of I have a problem-solving brain. So let's figure out
Mm.
what the market needs, and then let's figure out how to solve that problem and make money doing it, right? And so I worked with for large companies: Nabisco, Keebler, Kellogg's. Led teams to create and launch over $1 billion of new products, and love it, again, the problem-solving nature. I was with the Keebler company. I joined Keebler right after an LBO. Was part of a company as a $500 million LBO. 4 years later, was part of the team that helped sell the company to, or helped position to sell the company to Kellogg for $4.5 billion. I was too junior to retire, like a lot of my senior executives did. Good for them, right? But what a great experience. But one of the things I did is I was with Keebler and Kellogg combined for 7 years. And one day I'd counted up, how many new cookies had my teams launched in those 7 years? and it was like 35 cookies. And again, there's a part of my brain, the problem solving is like, let's figure out the 36 new cookie. Wouldn't that be amazing? And then there was another part of my brain or my heart that said, the world doesn't need another new cookie, but it needs other kinds of innovation. So I left it, like use that as a way to, left large organizations. I ran a consulting company for about a decade. While I was working with my consulting company, one of our clients was a large, very, very large global healthcare, life science, pharma oriented company, and we were leading their new venture development activity. So looking at really big opportunities in well-being and nutrition, and some of it tied to some of their technology capabilities, and some just more in general tied to brands and other things that they had as well. But I started looking at behavior change and the science of behavior change related to wellness or weight loss or any kind of health conditions. And what we found was that almost most programs don't work for very many people for very long, weight loss or any kinds of program. So the numbers, if you look at even the kind of the best commercial weight loss programs, with good science and all of that, if 100 people start that program, today, some will lose weight for a while, but a year from now, 95%, at least the studies, would show that 95% have gained back all that weight, and some have gained back even more. So I got to thinking, looking at why our traditional models to behavior change aren't working. Um, and it kind of boils down to our current models. Uh, and this is a very Western culture, US kind of a thing, but we think that if I just educate you and you're going to have the willpower and you're going to be able to do it. So I'm going to
Mm.
give you a book or a program or an app. And,
Hmm.
and when it comes to not, so there's another, it feels it's a little bit of a fake out too, because in education, if you're learning math or science, it works, right? I'm going to teach you, you're going to have willpower to study, and you're going to do good, well on your test. But when it comes to behavior change, uh, uh, for things that have emotional needs or other kinds of needs,
Hmm.
it doesn't work because our brains are more complex than that, right? So motivation and uh, ability is impacted by a lot more than knowledge. Knowledge is a piece of the pie, if you will, but emotions play a huge role in behavior change, our culture, our socioeconomics, our environment. And so if we're just saying I'm going to educate you and you're going to have the willpower, if it's related to emotions or other aspects of kind of not non-cognitive ability, we're setting people up to fail. Because I have a brand management background, I kind of combine that insight, like we need a different approach to what could be a different kind of approach. And a lot of large categories in food and other industries are created by I think of it as shifting the frame of reference. So it's what something's compared to.
Yeah.
So when bagged lettuce was first introduced by Fresh Express and then Dole followed it, it used to be if you wanted a salad, you had to go to the produce section and buy a commodity head of lettuce, and
Yeah.
right. So that's the way. When they introduced bagged lettuce, their competitive set wasn't commodity produce; it was other convenient, healthy lunches, right? So they there's a shift
Okay.
in frame of reference. So those kinds of things. So I started looking at, are there existing frames of reference on the planet that we might borrow strengths from or a framework from that can help us with behavior change. And the largest single psychological or mental framework that exists on the planet is gameplay, but video gameplay. Uh, and so
Okay.
today, again, I shared this before, but 40% of
Yeah.
the population
Yeah.
is no, and we've looked at it. There's no other existing frame of reference to kind of to do that. And it turns out, that when we play games, we are demonstrating these strengths that we can, and we're doing it very naturally, and we can harness those strengths to be stronger in everyday life. So that framework is not only appealing, right? It's like, hey, I get, for the 3 billion people around the world that play video games, hey, I get to like play life like a game. How cool is that? But also it's really, really effective as well.
Yeah, so you saw a tremendous need that wasn't being served, a
Right.
powerful and incredible draw that you could use to actually solve it. It's kind of a no-brainer.
It, it, it,
Once you say it the way you just said it, it makes total
It
sense.
it makes sense. And then that was on a parallel path. Jane had her concussion and created the framework. The original, Jane got together with a couple folks in San Francisco and created the first SuperBetter company. And one of her co-founders was a dear friend. He also grew up in the food industry. So I was, helpful as friends are. I wasn't directly involved with that company, but one of my clients in the consulting business, I bridged them to become their largest investor. And so again, kind of nurturing that idea along just because I saw it had such potential. That company, got stuck like some, startups do that have huge opportunities and visions, but they got stuck. So they ran out of cash and, dissolved. So, a few years later, I did a very friendly acquisition of the assets and the kind of the founder of the company that's moving SuperBetter forward.
Okay, so is SuperBetter now in the sales stage where people can, groups, organizations can actually buy it and bring it in?
We yes. So our main business model. So we've created this innovate again. I come out of the world of innovation and there's a huge problem to solve, and I can solve more problems through strategic partnerships than I can building a kind of a traditional operating company.
Okay,
And so our primary model is a strategic partnership or a license model. So that we're doing a lot of work with Indiana and other places to demonstrate the potential, and we have all the research and we have the innovation of the mindset intervention. So our core model is to form strategic partnerships with
okay,
companies of the education industry, the healthcare and digital health industry. Cybersecurity is a big area of interest in potentially the sports industry as well. And so the idea is that this mindset framework can be embedded into curriculums. It can be used as mentoring framework. So it's a great opportunity for companies that serve the higher ed or the K through 12 or adult learning, or in the employer market, learning and development,
okay,
security, right? Because this mindset framework, and because it solves that problem around longer term behavior change and outcomes in mental health that the traditional programs don't do as well. So that's our primary model. Our secondary model is around grant funded collaborations, because I want to keep learning and testing and
okay,
showcasing the innovation in different kinds of settings, not only in the U.S. but around the world. We've done work in sub-Saharan Africa and shown that this framework works in impoverished villages in rural Zambia, right? So there's a global opportunity here as well. But customers, we do serve customers as well, and love to do that. But I don't have a sales team that's like knocking on doors to
okay.
proactively. So a lot of the customer sales are relationships that people are learning about the innovation and kind of leaning into it, and then we'll work with them.
Can any company bring you in some way, shape, or form to work with their employees?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
for sure, for sure, for sure.
Because I love what this is and I love how it works, and I can see tremendous applications of this. Uh, you know, when you talk about some of those feelings of anxiety and loneliness and depression and everything else, we talk to a lot of leaders of companies who are instituting and integrating programs
Hmm.
so that they can find that out about their employees before it reaches critical
Oh,
mass,
that's right.
before they find out, oh my God, hundreds of our employees are on the verge of having a breakdown.
Yeah,
How do we fix this? Well, they're trying to figure out ways to open up the lines of communication with those employees.
yeah.
I think this could be a great tool.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, in the world, in the employer market, the enterprise and employer market, there are three ways that three functions where we can particularly add value. So you kind of alluded to the employee well-being space, which of course
Mhm.
there's a natural, right? Because and it's not only for the employees, but also we're a good tool for the families because the gameful approach and a lot of the employees have kids or uh, uh, that have struggles as well. So employee well-being, learning and development. So we've talked a lot about the research around mental health outcomes, but our core promise is that we improve resilience, the ability to stay strong, motivated, and optimistic even in the face of change in difficult situations. And so employees that have more resilience, there's a whole body of published literature. They're more agile, adaptable, productive. They're more creative problem solvers. They're better able to manage stress and avoid burnout and a bunch of other things that make really good employees. and happy employees and all of that. So learning and development or professional development or talent management programs is a second function. The third function, and I just gave a presentation 2 weeks ago to the Cybersecurity Institute team. And in the world of cybersecurity, which is, and especially it's a huge area of investment for enterprise customers, especially if they're dealing with sensitive data. So financial, banks and financial,
Sure.
and today a Stanford study shared that 88% of breaches, cybersecurity breaches, are caused by human error. Right.
Hmm.
So, and the industry is, fantastic at firewalls and all the technical, right. And right.
Right. Yeah.
And, gaming all of that out. Where the industry is challenged is on the human side, right? So there are compliance programs, right? But they kind of tend to fall into the more traditional education plus willpower, an occasional,
Mm.
kind of not an ongoing training, but here, and we know this, in training programs, we only retain information for it, right? So they're designed, there there's a way to use our super mindset to complement what's happening in compliance programs, right? So the real need, my articulation in cybersecurity is that we need to empower employees with cognitive resilience.
Hmm.
And so, and again, the compliance programs today are providing information, and I'm not criticizing them by any means. They do what they do what they do. But if we really want to empower, employees, because the human mind is under attack, almost
Hmm.
24/7, right? And some of them are the bad actors that are phishing. Some of it's just attacks because social media algorithms are favoring economic gains versus mental health, and so there are things that are being done for that are kind of attacking the brain incidentally, right? But if we have a tool that's building cognitive resilience and kind of empowering individuals to understand at an appropriate level how their brain works when it's under attack, what is
Wow.
the attackers doing, and then
Yeah.
pair that with this mindset intervention that's not a one-time compliance. It can support the one-time compliance, but it's an ongoing piece, and it's a program. The SuperBetter Mindset program can serve the needs of reducing risk of breaches. At the same time, it can be empowering employees. So most employees hate the compliance training program. They're boring, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's industry data, not my data as well. But if we're giving them a tool that actually builds resilience, that makes them better, better parents, better lives, better employees, and it's also reinforcing the needs of the cognitive, the cognitive resilience and cybersecurity risk prevention, then it's going to be used more, and it creates more value. So three areas for employers. I think there's a big idea for a big employer to say, you know what, mine's under attack. Today, I've got a well-being programs solving it with its solutions. I've got learning and development solving problems with their solutions. I've got cybersecurity solving it. What if we had one solution that was just our solution for employee resilience? And,
Hmm.
and that solution could support employee well-being. It can support learning and development. It can support cybersecurity. So I think I would love to find a large strategic company, as a CEO that says, that makes sense. Let's not do three different programs and kind of split our employees' time and attention to, let's do well-being here and use that app here. Let's use, a training program for learning and development there. Let's do my compliance program, right? So I think, I would love to find an organization that wanted to, prove out a proof of concept around, let's build overall resilience, and then, support our functional needs, through
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
common framework that's more employee-centric versus function-centric.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That sounds like kind of a no-brainer, actually.
Right.
Happier, better people make happier, better employees make happier, better people. So, it's
That's
this
right.
it's this
Yeah, yeah,
circle, right?
yeah. And with your organization is all about people-centric
Hmm.
solutions and programs. So that would truly be a people-centric model versus a functional-centric model that says employee well-being versus learning and development versus cybersecurity. So it's an interesting, anyway.
Exactly, which is why we were so excited about, having you here to talk. So, and we could talk to you for another hour about this, and we'll have to have you back to dive into this even deeper, because this has been extraordinarily just amazing, first of all, but certainly incredibly educational and eye-opening in so many ways. It's very positive and hopeful, when you dig into what this is doing and why it works, and it's transformative in so many ways. So thank you for what you're doing, Keith, and thanks for taking this time to share it with myself and with our viewers and all of our readers. We really do appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I've enjoyed it.
Okay, so Keith Wakeman of SuperBetter.com is the site. I'm assuming anybody who's interested, companies can go to that site and learn all they need, and then through the site they can reach out to you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's it. Or find me on LinkedIn as well. But yes, either way,
Wonderful. Okay, Keith, thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you much, Chris.
Bye-bye.